Welcome to yet another episode of Shortcast over Coffee. Our guest today is Shruti Jahagirdar, a passionate fitness trainer, entrepreneur, and nutritionist. Shruti was a competitive national level volleyball player and holds an MBA from ESMT Berlin and specializes in low carb, high fat diets. Shruti and I planned this episode to be a workout 101. She's really passionate about exercising and nutrition, and she has gleefully agreed to do another episode on nutrition, which I'm really looking forward to. But in this episode, I will get to know from her how to push oneself to working out and why do we even work out? What are the right breathing techniques? Why do we even do the staple moves like squats and deadlifts and so on? So stay tuned for all this and more. And oh, yeah, I recently found out that Shruti's mom was a Marathi actress, and we will ask her about that too. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Hi, Shruti. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi Bala, thank you for having me. Pretty excited. In fact, even a little nervous from all the things that we discussed. We want to speak about in this episode, and so much to cover. Very exciting.
Yeah. I was actually looking you up, and one thing really struck me is that your mom was an actress, and she
She
act.
was.
Yeah, you put up a picture of her from a Jabbar Patel movie. By the way, Jabbar Patel is the same director who directed B.R. Ambedkar, the
That's right.
biographic movie of B.R.
I've
Ambedkar.
watched
And
it. Yeah,
yeah, and it had one of Kerala's leading actors, Mammootty, in it. So
correct.
that's how,
Yeah,
yeah, that's how a lot of Kerala got to know about Jabbar Patel. I mean, he's quite a legend in the Marathi parallel cinema world.
yeah.
So yeah, and the music was Hridaynath Mangeshkar, Lata Mangeshkar's brother, screenplay Vijay Tendulkar. How fascinating! How was it growing up as the daughter of a of an actress?
Well, she did it. She did it for a while, late into her teens and early 20s, and then life took over, just marriage and children. But in the few films that she did and a lot of theater, uh, it turned out that the films that she was part of and theater is some of the best work that you will come across in Marathi cinema and theater, because Sinhasan, the movie that she had done, is about the politics in Maharashtra, and there are so many times that things happen in Maharashtra even now politically, and people will start talking about the same movie. So it's so relevant. It's, I think, if I'm not wrong, from 1979 or so, and even now it's very relevant to what happens in Maharashtra, and it's one of the most loved movies of Marathi cinema. So yeah, it's growing up in a house with creative people is always, I think, quite liberating, because they understand, your parents understand that you're going to think in all different directions. Because my father also belonged to the same background. He was teaching direction at the Film and Television Institute in Pune, and that's how my parents met, when my mother was actually doing some work at the Film and Television Institute. So I guess it was nice. I grew up in a very liberal setting, with parents who encouraged whatever it is that me and my younger brother wanted to do. And the funny thing is, both of us, my brother and I, love the arts, whether it's film, music, all kinds of film and music. But my calling was more towards sport, and here we are. I am even now following a path in sports in many different ways. um but yeah, if you grow up in a household which encourages you to be creative, then no matter what path you follow in life, your thought process, in a sense, is, I believe, slightly diverse, and you're able to think in various directions, and probably encourage different types of ideas that people may end up even shutting down at the first instance. And you want to sort of encourage chaotic thinking in a sense, risk taking in a sense, kind of ideas, and you want to explore them and see how you can make them work. And I think that that all comes from my parents and my background.
Yeah, you mentioned about Simhasan. I think it's very true with almost all regional films. There's a movie called Sandesham in Malayalam. I think it released in 92 or 93. And people still quote the movie, people still quote the dialogues from the movie, and it's crazy how relevant it is. And there is also a discussion along the lines that, hey, the movie released in 92, and if it's still relevant, does that mean that we have not gone ahead or moved forward from that stage? So yeah, I think political movies, and that's one of the reasons why we all call them as classics, right? um,
Yeah. And
but to
also,
your
when it comes to films, I would say that, the relevance of a film or the greatness of a film is only apparent many years after it was made. Today we just look at films and their marketing and the few months of buzz, and everybody's singing the songs and talking about the dialogues and everything. But I think we'll only get to know which of today's films are great cinema if we still remember them a decade or two later.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people are just focused on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then they just get everything in those 3 days, and that's that's pretty much it. You touched upon how growing up in a creative household, you probably got a lot of freedom because if you were raised in an academic family, not just academic family, but like a typical office goer 9 to 5 kind of family, I think the stress put on academia would be too much, at least more than creative households is what I'm expecting. But having said that, you did went on to do petroleum engineering. How did that happen?
Well, first of all, I mean, my dad was also in a job, even though he was in the Film and Television Institute. But I feel I don't remember a single time when my parents had to sit us down, me and my brother, and be like, "Okay, you have to study, you have to do well, you have to get good grades." They were really free flowing as parents. Like I think their only objective was, I'm going to support my children in every which way I can, in whatever they want to do. And that's pretty much what they've done, and they continue to do even now. And I'm quite blessed that that's the kind of childhood have had. Um, but again, like, just the kind of surroundings I was in, given that I started playing sports at the state and national level when I was 12. But at that time, no matter how well you did, you didn't quite see a future in sport. And so it was but natural that by the time I came to my 10th standard, there was one thing that I was always kind of chasing, that I wanted to sort of have the best of what I could. And by the time I came to the 10th standard, I sort of realized there was this wonderful junior college in Pune, Ferguson College, that was supposed to be the coolest, the most intelligent kids went there, and I wanted to be there. And you can't be there unless you scored enough, and then you were admitted. uh, well, that was a wish. I like There were a few things that happened in my sports tournaments before my 10th standard exams that really made me want to sort of revenge, get those kind of marks to go to Ferguson College. Because like, there's a lot of corruption in sport, there's a lot of last minute changes, there's a lot of money exchanging hands, or impressing seniors, or all those kind of things. And one such incident had happened with me, the first instance when I had been selected for the national level tournament. So I did end up playing nationals afterwards, but before I gave my 10th exam, I had a chance and I had gone to play, and then I couldn't finally because there was some last minute changes made to the team, and it was obviously corruption. But by the time that I came back from that disappointment, I my 10th standard exam was only about a month away. uh, And I then, something just, a spark came into me, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna kill my exam. It's almost like, you have this pent up anger, and you want to see triumph so badly. And then, yeah, that's how I ended up studying a lot in that 1 month, making good scores, and then ended up going to this college. And then what happens is, if you go to a college where you end up meeting everybody who's succeeding academically, and those are the kind of people that are around you, and they're constantly talking about what they're going to do in the future. I think to some extent that sort of gets into your DNA at some point. And then once you've seen academic success, and I'm not saying I was some topper or anything like that, but I had enough to be in a really good in a good college. And then, you're in that company and you've done well once, and you now don't want to do badly. And then so 12th standard happened. I already knew I wanted to be an engineer. So again, you want to get into a good college. And when I had to choose my branch, I knew somehow that the funny part was, I knew I wanted to be an engineer, and at the same time I knew that I didn't want to do IT, computer science and electronics, and my interest was in mechanical engineering. And at the time, not a lot of women went to mechanical
The
engineering. In
case
fact,
is the case is
it's
the
still the
same
same.
now.
Still the same. And then the college that I wanted to go in, I was not getting admission to mechanical engineering. And coincidentally, where I lived, there were a lot of students from the petroleum engineering department. And at some point, I ended up speaking to them, and they told me, the first 2 years are the same as mechanical engineering, and then you start studying petroleum. And then when I found out more about it, I loved it. It was a mix of earth sciences with engineering, and I was like, this is so cool. And that's how I ended up doing petroleum engineering. And I would say it's perhaps the best decision I've made in my life.
Hmm. Yeah, you spoke about the corruption in sport, right? I remember Rajdeep Sardesai from CNN IBN. He was mentioning that sports is probably the only field where there is meritocracy and all of that, and it's fascinating. I even know some people who played like junior level cricket in India, district level and state level. Um, and they say that this happens way too often. And I feel like how can how can something except meritocracy sustain in sport? Like it's going to be so evident if someone is underperforming, someone is an anomaly or an outlier in a team. But like how far do can they even go? Like what is the
Yeah, but what
point?
if what if it's the coaches or the selector's daughter? Who's going to question? And then the thing is also that you see all these things, but next year you might go for selection trials again, or in you may be in some other tournament and the selector is the same. So you're not going to raise your voice and put him down, at least unless you come with a lot of power yourself. So who's going to question at the selection levels what is happening?
Yeah.
um so I mean, it's a power game at the end of the day.
Yeah, and yeah, I've heard different stories.
And it
People.
happened with me, by the way. It happened with me. The selector who took me who had me taken out of the team to get one of his favorite girls in, who arrived at the trials much later after the team was announced. She was not there at the trials, and she came very late, and then she said, I never received the letter for invitation. So anyway, it was his favorite tosser in a volleyball game, and he had her replace me. And later that year I played the nationals, actually, but he was the selector. So I wonder what would have happened if I really created a big mess there. And sometimes you let things go, and if you're a sportsman, at least at my level at the time, we weren't thinking of a career in sports. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's another point, right? A lot of people just give up because they probably know that there is something else in store for them, and then there are others who literally just break the doors down and score twice as much runs or whatever the case is in different sport. You You also mentioned about mechanical engineering, and I did mechanical engineering for undergrad, so I can probably speak a little bit about it. It's that uh, I actually don't know why women are not interested in mechanical engineering. I've had this discussion with multiple people, and they say that, earlier days mechanical engineering was a lot of heavy lifting. There was a lot of casting and
Absolutely.
workshop kind of things involved, and that's not the case anymore. Mechanical engineering has also evolved and has gone into different areas like robotics and whatnot, but there is still that, I don't know. It's probably a built up or like a hangover. But
I feel
what's
like it's not really, I mean, I feel like it's just that people don't know much about it. They are so blinded by IT and software and where people are, where they see others around them, that they don't even think about what mechanical engineering really entails. Where can they get from it? So it's really ignorance for the branch rather than finding
yeah.
it difficult.
Yeah, I really don't think it's the labor part, because I feel like a lot of women take biotech, and I feel like biotech is a lot more laborious because people have to wear the gown and be in the lab for like hours together, do mice work and whatnot. So there is like computer science, IT, all that, and then there is mechanical, and then there is civil biotech, which does have a significant amount of female population taking it up. But moving back to your life, you were always a fitness freak, so to say, and then you mentioned that you did have a weight gain issue around 2013 and 2014.
Yeah.
Um, what was like, how did a volleyball national level player gain weight?
No, actually, I mean, it's not like I had gained weight that I can really, say was max obesity or anything like that. It's just that, first of all, I was always slightly on the heavier side. I wasn't particularly lean. And especially around that time of 2013 and 2012, I had an assignment with Shell in the Netherlands. It was the first time I was going to live outside India for one whole year. And that's when I learned most of my cooking skills and everything, because you have to do things yourself. And I'm a vegetarian, and in those days, you couldn't Google stuff, and you couldn't, see what restaurants served what and all of that. So I used to cook very often, or I used to go drinking with my friends, or if you did go out, then you would end up having something like cheese balls or something like that, because you're a vegetarian, and that whole lifestyle didn't quite suit me.
Was
And
there
then
was there a lot of sugar, by the way? Because
no, oh yeah, yeah, of course. And in those days, I didn't even know anything apart from just going to the gym and doing a lot of cardio workouts and all of that. Um, but also the weather was really cold, and once you left office, the cold and the wind would hit you so bad that you wouldn't want to go anywhere else but home. And so I wasn't gymming that much, and in those days, actually, I have to admit, apart from doing a lot of treadmill and some light weights and all, I didn't know anything about gymming. So I would join a gym, but I would not, I really feel like I didn't know anything back then. So that lifestyle didn't quite suit me, and the kind of food and everything. And when I came back, I had gained about 8-10 kilos. And I looked heavy, because, in like I told you, my idea of fitness back then was going and running on the treadmill and doing some 1 kilo, 2 kilo, weights that were clearly not that challenging for me. And so if I was, let's say, I was about 70 kilos by the time I came back. And if I can show you two pictures of mine at different points when I'm 70 kilos. One, when I had all the knowledge of weight training and strength training and everything, and one when I didn't know. And those 70 kilo Shrutis look very different. And the reason is because in when I didn't know anything, I had not done a lot of strength training, and my muscle didn't have that much definition, that much strength. And it's muscle that gives your body shape, basically. And so once I started weight training, because my muscles were, I gained some muscle mass as well, and I gained, and because of those muscles, my body looked a little bit leaner. A 70 kilos was looking way different afterwards than it did back in 2012 and 13. So weight training can be beneficial whether you've gained weight or not, because once your body starts adapting to strength training, then you're always going to sort of be on the leaner looking or shapely looking size side of things.
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting thought point. So you also talk about in 2014, you watch a television show called The Biggest Loser, and
Oh my
that
god,
sort
you
of,
did the research.
yeah, and that sort of got you back into, or
Yeah.
heavily into fitness. Uh, what about the show inspired you?
Um, First of all, I like I told you, I was looking slightly heavier. I wanted to become fitter, and I bumped. I came across this show called Biggest Loser, and there was a trainer in that show called Jillian Michaels, whose style of training was very hard, a little harsh kind of a trainer she was. And when I used to watch that show, and I used to watch these super morbidly obese people, really exercise, get fitter. I don't know, sometimes there's a time in your life when change just happens. So this happened to be my moment where I was like, if these people can do it, I can. And so I signed up to Jillian Michaels fitness app back then. And then she used to have these body weight based workouts with some light weights. And at that time, it really benefited me. I lost like 10 kilos in 3 months, and I was looking very lean and very fit. And at the same time, along with my office mates, I was also training for Desert Warrior, which is an obstacle race with 22 obstacles in a 10-kilometer distance, and in the sand. So it's probably one of the most challenging, sport or race that's organized in Dubai, in and around Dubai and Abu Dhabi. So I was parallelly doing that, both these things, and I became really fit. And yeah, the only thing that helped me at that time was I was so motivated, I was so consistent. And at that time, then consistency is sort of, at least if you want to lose weight, consistency is the prime change maker.
Yeah, very interesting. Lots of people have researched about workouts and nutrition, and I think most of the scientists agree around this fact that exercise is against our evolutionary instincts. Um, our evolutionary instinct is to conserve energy, and we are hardwired not to just go out and put that stress and pain on our body. Uh, if someone is just starting to work out, they are feeling lazy and lethargic. Uh, is there a perk based method to push them to exercise, or what would be your thought process, or what would be your advice to people who want to just not work out?
See, first of all, I honestly believe that you or me cannot motivate somebody to change their lifestyle, or to change how they look, or how they feel, how fit they are. Some things are better experienced. And like I said, that if there is somebody who finds the motivation and even curiosity, the motivation doesn't have to be that I have to look really, with lean muscle, or I want to lose fat or whatever. The motivation doesn't have to be that. It can just be curiosity. Oh, I've never lifted weights, and I saw somebody lifting it in the gym, and I want to try it. Like for me as well, when I started even learning how to lift weights, I was still quite conservative. I would lift, for example, in a deadlift, I would try and lift only 30 kilos, 35 kilos or something. And then at some point I had gone to Phuket, where there's one of the world's best fitness schools. I mean, there are many, but I went to one. And there I suddenly saw these Canadian and German women do like 100 kilo deadlift and like group workouts. Like it was sort of light for them. And I was like, man, women lift this much? I didn't even know. By then, back in 2016, I hadn't sort of seen that kind of weightlifting. Now women know a lot more. Now you even see women do it more in the gyms in India. But so when I saw that, that's when I came back to the gym and I was like, hey, I'm not challenging myself enough. Maybe I should try and lift more. So we can't motivate anybody. And if somebody is then motivated, yes, then there's like a plethora of things that they can begin with. I wouldn't say that, at that moment try and find what's the best, what's the most scientific, whatever. At that moment, then you can say there can be a perk in them choosing whatever they want to do. It could be a dance workout, it could be a gym, it could be running, it could be anything else. Is it more the most optimum? Is it the best workout for them? We don't know. But if it's about getting somebody off the couch, something is better than nothing.
Hmm. And for people who start with working out, day one they just go in and exert too much on themselves, and then the next day the body starts to ache, and then there's no push, like there's no incentive to go back to the gym and do it again. When you started working out or taking this seriously, did you start enjoying the pain that happened the next day, or were you like, oh my God, it's hurting, how do I push myself to go there again?
Oh, it hurts a lot, no matter how experienced you are. It's just that because I was a sportsman, I always knew that you're going to experience pain. It's just that sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, based on how much you have really done. So for me, the pain was really not a new thing, and I kind of could tell between pain that is making me stronger versus pain that is, putting me down. So, in a sense, you can even say it's sweet pain, but I know that beginners really find it daunting. Um, and I would say that it is up to the trainers that they are consulting, or even the apps, or wherever they are taking advice from, to put it out there. That you're a beginner, you're just starting. Your body is going to resist all kind of pressure put on it. And change is never easy. Change is going to be difficult, and I think that is something that everybody who's training a beginner has to put out in the very beginning. And at the same time, everybody is different. You're still going to have somebody who is like, okay, I really don't feel like coming back to the gym, I'm going to quit. And then there'll be some people who'll be like, no, no, I feel fine, I'm going to come and do more. You're going to come across all kind of people. And as a trainer, you need to know how to deal with all of them, or all sorts of people. And if somebody is really overwhelmed, you say, hey, take 2-3 days off, let the pain go away, and then come back.
Hmm.
The
Yeah,
next time is going to be lesser.
yeah. I think trainer is almost like a teacher, right? I mean, they should
Yeah.
also know the psyche of their student and sort of tailor make their.
That is their primary job. That is their primary job.
Yeah.
A trainer's primary job is really to understand their clients' emotional health, emotional capability, the ability to understand instructions, and all of them are also related to your where you are in your life. You probably have to have a conversation with your client on where they are in their life right now. Like, for example, if somebody is going through a family member suffering with something in the house, and then they also think that, okay, let me at least be active and come to the gym, and such a person you're trying to push in the wrong directions or at wrong times, they're probably not going to be in it.
Hmm.
So you're going to have to like buy in their trust, find a slot in their routine where their mind is free, where they can receive your instructions, and not feel like you're asking them to do things they don't want to do. It could be anything. I used to have a client who I think he had very busy parents. He was a 16-year-old boy, and his parents were both doctors. And for some odd reason, since his eighth standard, he was going through depression. And at some point he had figured out that there are some sleeping pills or something that like just put him to bed and make life simpler for him. I met him maybe at the end of his ninth standard, in the beginning of his 10th standard, and in one of the conversations I found out that he casually takes these sleeping pills. And so then we started having conversations around what were the challenges in his house. I also found out that he was sort of addicted to porn. And how would a client end up telling you such things, right? Only when you won over their trust. So there is it's not like you pay me today and I take you to the gym and we start exercising. It doesn't work like that. So it's really relationship building, and only when you trust me can I really make a difference to your life.
Yeah, personal trainer. It kind of helps if the personal trainer is also a therapist.
Yeah, you have to be to some extent without getting into, the nitty-gritties of it, because you need to know the when your where your boundary is. And if you come across somebody who really needs professional help, then you should be able to refer them to some good people.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. It's actually funny. There was a statistic where the gym memberships are the 60% of gym membership comes from the first week of New Year, and then
Yeah.
nobody just shows up. And I think to your point of what you said about literally no pain, no gain, right? I think you have to have some amount of pain, and this whole human laziness is very fascinating because it's one of the key ingredients that made us make all these discoveries and technological advancements, right? Because we are lazy and we want to be more efficient, get things done faster. But I think it works the exact opposite way when it comes to workouts. You really need to be slow, you really need to be steady, consistent, and sort of soak in that pain to be successful. Okay, now we kind of uncovered some basics of working out. Now, I mean, this is quite popular. This whole field of calisthenics these days. I see videos on YouTube where you use your own body weight to train. There's this really nice guy called Hybrid Calisthenics. I watch a lot of his videos, and I mean, the one thing I like about him is he kind of breaks it down. He breaks it down so simple that you don't really need to feel the pain. And then I mean, obviously the progress is a lot slower, but it seems to work for a lot of people. Now, if you could break down the advantages and disadvantages of calisthenics versus something like weight training for the audience.
Yeah, I think this is $1 million question, and I think at some point everybody asks themselves that. Uh, to begin with, I would like to quote the great writer Hemingway, who said that don't mistake movement for action. You know, and that is really the difference between good exercise plans and poor exercise plans. I wouldn't say bad or whatever, but not optimum plans. Um, there's let's first talk about strength training or weight training, and then we'll come to body weight based workouts. Okay. um and yeah, maybe let me take a step back and talk about exercise plans in general. Okay, let's say you want to start thinking about exercising, or you want to optimize your exercise routine. One of the things that we have to remember is that exercise must be specific. Okay, it has to solve a purpose. Okay. And which is why I quoted Hemingway that, movement is just movement and action has a purpose. So when we want to exercise, there are 5 components of fitness that a good fitness plan should have. Okay. The first is cardiovascular endurance, which is popular and which everybody knows. It's your swimming and running and cycling, all those things. So you should have some cardio in your exercise plan. There should also be muscular endurance that you target. So muscular endurance is if you've heard runners or long distance cycling, people who are cycling long distance talk about their challenges, you would see that so many times runners will say that, hey, I could continue running another couple of kilometers, but my shins were aching. And because this shin muscle was aching, I had to stop. Or a cyclist will say that I could cycle more. So I had the cardiovascular capability, but my quadriceps were aching. So I have to stop. So this is what muscular endurance is. Muscular endurance is your muscles' ability to contract often without fatigue, but suboptimally. Okay, so this, you also have to ensure that your exercise takes into consideration increasing your muscular endurance. The third thing is your muscular strength. So muscular strength is weight training basically, where your muscles are contracting completely in anaerobic workouts. So in a cardiovascular workout, you're constantly breathing, you're constantly running, you're doing it for a very long time. But when it comes to strength training, you're breathing once, then doing the rep. So you're not breathing when you're exercising. Then you come back up, then you breathe again, then you go back for your second rep.
I have to cut you here because I have $1 million question that I've had contrasting answers whenever I've looked for it. When do we breathe in and when do we breathe out while doing a strength training or endurance training?
So when you breathe, so you would breathe in and out before you start your rep, right? So if you're doing, let's say, a squat, and you have weight on you, you have weight racked up on the squat rack. You are going to breathe in, okay, and then take the weight on your back, do the first squat, come up, then breathe out. So at the beginning of the rep, and once you stand up, you're going to breathe out. You're going to first clear out all the air that you have in your core basically, and then breathe out fresh, breathe in fresh, so that your core is tightened.
I see.
So at the beginning, at the very beginning, if you're doing a deadlift, for example, you would stand, your bar is right next to your shins on the ground. You're going to first breathe in and then go down, lift the bar, go back down and keep it. And then you're going to breathe out. Which is why weight training is anaerobic, because when you are actually doing the rep, you're not breathing. As compared to cardiovascular, when you're running, you're constantly breathing, you know.
Okay.
Aerobic.
Yeah, I had it I had it wrong all this while because I thought that, let's say this is a dumbbell and then I do this. I suck air in and I just breathe out when I do it the other way. So,
That I mean, a lot of people have that thought process, but the thing is, you're breathing in to tighten your core. Okay, if you really think about it, between your lower body and your upper body is your core. Okay, and your core is the only place where you have no bones. It's a hollow, empty space. Okay, so how do you activate your kinetic chain? How do you make your body work as one whole unit to lift that weight?
there is the backbone, but yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, and that's about, but in the front of your body where your core is, it's hollow space, and that space has to be filled to connect your upper body with your lower body, so your entire body can work as one unit to lift a challenging weight. And that is the purpose that breathing solves. And which is why before you begin your repetition, you have to suck in as much air as you can till you can almost feel that it is in your core.
Oh,
Your
I see
core
how this
is
is kind of related to biomechanics, right? So it's basically making the front of your body firmer so
yeah,
that you can lift more weight. Is that a
yeah,
fair
it's
and
connecting your upper and lower body. It's like it's filling in the weak link. in your body.
Exactly. Yeah, makes sense.
And hence your whole kinetic chain is activated, and your body functions as one whole unit and can then lift that weight most optimally. And that is the purpose of breathing, and which is why you would breathe in before you began the rep.
Okay,
And
makes sense.
you need your core to be strong throughout that rep. And which is why you breathe out only when the rep is over.
Okay. Again, now moving on to reps.
Yeah, but I think
More.
we didn't finish. Sorry, I just told you about three elements of fitness. I want to just talk about the rest of the two. So we spoke about cardiovascular endurance, we spoke about muscular endurance, we spoke about muscular strength, and the fourth point is flexibility. So your yoga, Pilates, whatever it is that you're doing to increase your flexibility should be a part of your workout, but it is a part of your workout. So when somebody says, oh, I'm very active, I do yoga. So this is why I mentioned exercise must be specific. Yoga will help you become more flexible. So you still need other elements of exercise in your exercise plan. And then the fifth one is really your nutrition. So without nutrition, you cannot perform. And you cannot have fat loss or lean muscle or muscle gain or whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. So there are 5 elements of fitness or a good exercise plan, and your exercise plan must have all 5 of them. And then just to quickly talk about your question, whether strength is better or body weight workouts. So strength training fundamentally is a very functional type of workouts. The classical, like we mentioned, mechanical engineering, right? Mechanical engineering, electrical engineering are classical branches of engineering. All the others came much later, So strength training is like that. It's very functional. You're lifting weights unsupported. Okay, so when I have a bar behind me and I'm squatting or I'm deadlifting and I'm lifting a weight from the floor, I am basically doing it unsupported. I'm just using my body to do it. And in case of a deadlift, what am I really doing in terms of my daily life? I'm learning how to lift a heavy weight off the floor without injuring myself. So, deadlift, imagine in Pune, I come from Pune, which is very famous for everybody owning two-wheelers. And so many times we would park these two-wheelers in a stand outside our college or in front of a restaurant. And when you come back, there's many of those fallen on your two-wheeler. And then what are you going to do? You're going to start lifting one by one the bikes that are on your bike. Okay, and each of these bikes are 60, 70 kilos. So when you're trying to do that, what are you doing? You're doing a deadlift. That is how your strength training translates into your actual daily life. Or when you're moving and you have packed all these boxes and you want to of stuff from your house and you want to lift these boxes off the floor without injuring yourself, you're doing a deadlift. And it's the same with let's say an overhead press. I've seen a lot of people do these overhead presses. They are also the same. They teach you how to lift heavy weights over your head, over your shoulder, like a mother or a father lifts their baby up in the air, or we lift heavy suitcase or something and keep it on the top shelf of a aeroplane or a bus or a carrier. That's functionality, there translating into your real life. And apart from that, strength training would have progressive loading, so you're constantly challenging your body to perform better, to become more stronger, to be prepared to be more strong. And that is something that you don't get in a regular body weight training. Progressive loading, progressively increasing the challenge that your body is facing, and that's why it has to prepare to be stronger. Only when you challenge your body and you suddenly shock your body is when your body is going to say that, okay, if this happens again, I want to be ready. And that's when your muscles are going to become stronger. And that's why the next time you lift the same weight, it seems a little bit easier than it was the first time. That's called progressive loading. There's also other concepts that explain it. It's called super compensation. Like when you've challenged your muscle will prepare itself for a little bit more. If you lifted 20 kilos and it was suddenly shocked, the next time it will be prepared for a 21, 22 kilos because it wants to, not injure itself. So the muscle comes back a little bit stronger than it really has to. And apart from that, strength training really adheres to the principles of kinesiology, which means how our body was designed to move. That is, that kinesiology defines how your body moves fundamentally, and weight training was designed taking that those principles of movement in mind. When it comes to body weight training, it's just, there's too much variety out there right now, because it's a mix of marketing for getting your workouts out there, making people feel like you're doing something different compared to others. And but with body weight workouts, the problem is that people have gotten so busy creating a variety of workouts that it's variety in the types of exercises that you do are for the mind. The body is the same, it moves the same, it works the same. If you progressively load it, it's going to respond, it's going to become stronger. The body is not asking you for for variety, it's the mind. And that's what everybody who's in the fitness marketing industry is playing on. I'll come up with a new exercise and market it as my own. I'll come up with 100 exercises, 200 exercises, 300 exercises. I'll give you variety every single day. It's really for the mind, it's not for the body. And that's something we have to understand. The other thing is that body weight workouts are very injury prone, because all these group workouts, right? We're trying to keep up with everybody in the group, uh, or try and do them fast and try and do them for longer. And at some point, beginners who are now trying to do all these group workouts, in those workouts, risk being fatigued. And once you start getting fatigued, then you're going to start losing balance. You're going to start losing your ability to understand instruction and perform. For example, a box squat, like there's a box and you're jumping on a box jump, sorry, you're jumping on that box. I see a lot of beginners trying to do it midway through the workout, and they're completely fatigued, and they're going to injure themselves at some point because they're not as sharp as they were at the beginning of the workout. So it is injury prone, and it doesn't have progressive loading. So yes, you can do 50 squats, 100 squats. Tomorrow you can do 150 squats. How many of us have that kind of time? What is the end to it? 200 squats, 250 squats? We can't. So we need to load our body. We need to increase the load. We need to train with weights, so that within your 10 reps, 5 reps, 15 reps, or whatever, you can continue to challenge your body. And a lot of exercise, like I said, are just not functional. They don't translate into any real benefit in your daily life, and I don't recommend those kind of exercises. They may give you some benefits, you know so sometimes the movements are okay, but they don't translate into any real benefit in your daily life. And why engage in such exercises?
Yeah, what you said about group classes is so true because I remember going for a group class and I joined in the middle. I think they were already four classes down. And I already realized that, I could see that my form is not correct. And I was trying to keep up with the group. And the whole point of group classes is to motivate each other and whatnot. But I feel like I was lagging behind and I was trying to keep up. And the fatigue levels the next day were far more prominent than me just going to the gym and trying things out. Is that one of your key observations that you have noticed? And are you a proponent of group classes over personal training? What is your take on both?
Look, there is you can include group classes a couple of times a week if you want, but like I said to you, you should know why you're doing something. Okay, if I do a group class on a certain day, I do it for cardio. When I am doing a group class, and if they ask me to lift weights for whatever reason, there's some dumbbell workout or something in it, I'm not going to lift my best weight, I'm going to underlift, because I have gone there for a cardio workout, I have not gone there for strength training. And so I'm going to optimize my energy. Okay. So it's not like I enjoy group workouts myself, but if I do strength training 3 times a week, I also need to rest and recover, because that's exactly where your body is changing. That's exactly where it's becoming stronger. It's not when you're working out, not when you are inside the gym. It's when you're not in the gym. And if you don't spend enough time resting, and also resting is for this, for your central nervous system, which has really worked very hard when you've tried to push yourself in the gym, then your body is not going to change. It's going to be fatigued, progressively fatigued. So when I'm like, because I do intense training, I don't tend to do group classes now. But when I do include them, they are for cardio and they're not really for strength. And
That
in the beginning, you can do anything. Even in the group classes, it's going to give you benefit. It's going to also increase your strength.
even
But
if you miss the form.
if, see, doing something is better than doing nothing. And when you move, you're going to see some benefit. But over time, it's not going to be progressively beneficial for you. It's just the beginner's effect when you've moved your body after a long time and it's just adjusting. And right now your body weight is challenging for your own body. And, at some point, it's going to stop giving you any additional benefit.
You touched on an interesting point, the weight progression, right? And I wanted to understand how it is for a beginner. So because there is reps and there is progression, right? So when you start with a lower weight or whatever weight you're comfortable with, and then usually what people say is 3 reps of 10 cycles each. Oh, sorry, 10. How is it defined? Could you tell me 3 times 10? How is
Yeah, 3 sets of 10 reps, you mean?
3 sets of 10 reps? Yeah, that's right. So is that normal? Is that how everyone should start, or how do you break it down? Should everyone starts with 3 sets of 10 reps with a comfortable weight?
No, so the thing is, look, in the beginning, somebody who's never been in the gym should do a lot of reps and without weights. And you know why that is? Not because doing a lot of reps is giving them additional benefit, but it's because you have to learn to walk before you can run. Okay. And weight training is very, very dependent on how good your form is. And I have to teach my mind, I have to teach my body to squat well with my own body weight, with the right form, before I can add weight on my back and challenge itself. Because if I do a lot of reps in the beginning just to teach myself how to do a good squat, then my body and mind get used to this form, the way squat is done. And then when I add weight to challenge myself, my body already knows, okay, squat, this is how it automatically gets into form. It automatically gets into the right stance. It automatically knows it has to do a full range squat. It has to sit down, it has to get up. So it's like the warm up, it's like the trailer before the actual training program starts. So there is doing more reps has a place in workouts, but progressively it can't be used to give you the benefits of weight training itself. And I'll tell you why. Because why does anybody do exercises, right? Why does anybody do strength training? There are two main reasons. One is something we call hypertrophy. Hypertrophy is your muscles becoming stronger, quite simply put. That's what it is. Your muscles becoming stronger and them enlarging a little bit. That is what starts giving our body shape. And for fat loss. Okay. Now, these are the two reasons why you want to do exercises, whether you choose all these high rep exercises or strength training or whatever. And I have mentioned to you a while ago that how many reps can you continue to do, right? We don't have that kind of time. It's not optimal. Okay. Even though if I do 50 reps today of squats, and tomorrow I start doing 100 reps, obviously I am making my body work harder. It's obviously going to be challenging my body, but it's not the most optimum way of training your lower body muscles. It's not the best way to strengthen your lower body muscles, because There's no end to it. Tomorrow, are you going to do 150? Then are you going to do 200? And you're not adding any weight onto the body. So what the body is really kind of adjusting to is your mind is adjusting to more load at some point. It's your muscles are kind of, they know the kind of work they want to do. So which is where it stops being beneficial for you. The second is weight training is what will give you the maximum wear and tear in your muscle. Okay, weight training basic or any exercise causes micro trauma in your muscles. So that's why I told you, when you're exercising, you're actually not doing your body any favor. You're actually exerting your body. You're causing micro trauma in your muscles. And because your muscles are going through wear and tear, when you're resting is when your muscles are actually preparing, repairing themselves and preparing for adverse condition. For in case of exercise, adverse condition is more load coming onto them. So when you do strength training is when you cause the maximum wear and tear in your body. Okay, when you're progressively loading, when you're today you're squatting with 20 kilos, then 30 kilos, then 40 kilos, when you're progressively loading is when you're causing the maximum wear and tear in your body, which is why your muscles are going to become much, much more stronger compared to doing high repetitions without weights. Because with high repetitions and your body weight, you're not going to cause the same amount of wear and tear. And that is why your muscle will not come back that much stronger. And which is why everybody who has lean muscle, or even the big muscle guys, and everybody do strength training, because that's the only way to really build muscle. And there is a concept of there's something called as muscle fiber recruitment. So when you do strength training is when you have the maximum muscle fiber recruitment, which means that the muscles that we have, right, each of our muscle has, let's say, something called as one motor unit. Okay, one motor unit has one motor neuron, and in connected to that motor neuron are many muscle fibers. Okay, and in one muscle there are hundreds of motor units, there are hundreds of motor neurons, and then hundreds of muscle fibers. And when we do strength training is when the maximum muscle fiber recruitment is possible. It's not possible with body weight training. Okay, and the more muscle fiber recruitment, the more your muscle has to the more wear and tear it goes through, the more repair work it does and comes back stronger. Okay, and compared to cardiovascular workouts, and I kind of put body weight training to some extent in cardio workouts. Your yes, your BMR, which is the basal metabolic rate, goes up, which is how we all target fat loss and becoming fitter. It does go up, but that increased BMR stays for a very short time. With strength training, it stays for a very long time after your workout. Okay, and that is why you're burning calories actively way after your workout is over. And that's why there is a concept in strength training called EPOC. Okay, EPOC is excess post exercise oxygen consumption. In simpler words, it means afterburn. So the afterburn, your muscle, your increased BMR and your muscles trying to repair themselves, and hence using more and more energy from your body, hence more possibility of fat loss happens with strength training compared to body weight workouts. Okay, you'll have the maximum afterburn. And with strength training, because you're gaining muscle over time, muscle is a metabolic tissue. It's the muscles are the parts of our body that are doing all the work in the day that we are doing. So the more muscle you build, the more work you do, the more your muscles are active throughout the day, the more calories you'll continue to burn. And which is why your BMR will sustainably go up, not just after exercise or so, but sustainably, because the more the muscle you have, the more work your body has to do to keep your muscles active and well fed. So yeah, there's like lots of benefits to doing strength training over high rep workouts.
Yeah, you spoke about how there are so many different exercises these days, and a lot of them is just a marketing gimmick, right? And the way I see exercise, especially endurance training, I mean, if I could break it as a first principle, is that you're 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 letting a particular muscle work against a load, and that is basically making the muscle stronger, right? So we have, let's say, 100 different exercises to strengthen your core. Is there something which is the most efficient one, or if I could speak in terms of ROI, that gives you the most ROI among the other 99 different exercises? Or why are there so many exercises? Because there must be something that's more optimum, right?
Yeah. So I think the kings of exercises are really squats, deadlifts, like I mentioned earlier, overhead presses, and chest press or bench press, as it's called. So these are three or four exercises that are actually called the kings of exercises, and in technical terms, they're called structural exercises. And why they're called structural exercises is because these are the only three or four exercises where you load your entire spine. Okay, these are the only exercises where you load your entire spine. And when you load your spine,
Do you
so
load
that
your spine when you're, I'm just thinking out loud here, do you load your spine when you're squatting?
yeah, of course, your weight is right behind your on your back,
Mm-hmm.
resting on literally on your spine. Your entire your entire body is used in all of these exercises. The maximum number of muscles are active when you do squats, deadlifts, overhead presses, bench press as well. So which is why you'll see professional weightlifters, when they are doing a bench press, they're not resting their back on the bench. Their back is arched. They're going to just they're just going to bring their entire torso up. Okay, and they're going to be on their toes, next to the bench. And you're going to see, what you're going to see is a semicircle. Okay, you're not going to see their back resting on the bench. That's because they're activating the entire kinetic chain. They're using their entire body for that chest press. So yeah, I mean, these are the four exercises that load your spine, which means that these are the exercises that you must do to increase your bone density. And these are the exercises that use the maximum number of muscles in your body, which means that you're going to cause this trauma or wear and tear throughout your body by doing these exercises. And how many calories you burn, or what is the afterburn effect or the epoch, like I mentioned, really depends on the surface area that you caused wear and tear to. Okay, so with these three or four exercises, you're going to cause the maximum wear and tear in your body, which means your body is going to have to work very hard to repair itself. And these are the exercises that will increase your BMR the most and give you the most benefits of both gaining strength and burning calories.
Okay, so I think we should definitely stick to two. One is squats and the other is lifting. So break down squats for me. How important are they, and especially for women, how important is a squat?
Yeah. So there are different types of squats, right? There is a back squat, when your bar is on your back, basically, and all the weight is on your back. Then there is a front squat, where your bar is in the front, right here at you. You take the bar on your collarbone, basically,
Okay, so
and
when we say squat, you are talking about squat with weight, right? Because you can squat without weight as well.
yes,
Okay.
I
I think I got confused previously because if
squat,
you are
the
squatting with.
squat as a movement is a squat, like but the types of squats are back squat, front squat, and then overhead squat when you're actually holding the bar above your head. Okay, so there are 3 types of squats primarily. There are many other variations that people will try and do, but essentially, even the variations will will fall in eventually one of these categories. And the thing is, like I said, the back squat, I mean, all squats are loading your spine basically, and they're going to increase your bone density, and which is something that's a must for everybody, especially as we age, our bone density goes down, our bones start to become brittle. And if you want to ensure that your bones are stronger uh, uh, until the very end, then squats are the kind of exercise that you must do. Weighted squats. Okay, so squats where where you're loading your spine, where you're doing weight training. That is one. And then front squats. Basically, if you just look at it from what benefit do squats have in our daily life, it a back squat would teach you how to sit down and get up with a load on your back. Okay, think of us going trekking. I remember going for this trek in around Bangalore called Kumar Parvata. It's supposed to be one of the most difficult treks, and we kind of did that trek in 1.5 day or something, whereas everybody else takes 3 days. And I remember I was carrying 2-3 liters of water, I was carrying a tent, I was carrying a number of other things including bread and Maggie and everything else in my sack. And we were I mean, this trek is relentless. It's a constant incline. There's literally no uh, flat land in the middle, and you're carrying a lot of load on your back. Okay, so something like a squat is actually teaching you how to carry heavy loads on your back and move. Okay, and sit down and get up. Then a front squat where you're loading the front portion of your body with weights is teaching you how to sit down and get up and move with weights in the front of your body. Now, especially when it comes to women, uh, if especially women that plan to be that plan to have children, when you bear when you're pregnant, you're basically carrying weight in the front of your body. And if you were doing front squats, then your body would be prepared to carry that kind of weight, and you would not have lower back pains because your body is prepared. So that's where the functionality is for women, especially with regards to front squats. But everybody should include a variety of squats in their workouts: back squats, front squats, and also overhead squats. So overhead squats is basically a different type of squat, where because you're holding the bar well above your head, like literally like this, you're moving the center of gravity of your body up, and then sitting down and getting up when your center of gravity has moved from where it was is very, very challenging. And then you have to really learn. It's almost like you have to relearn how to squat because you're suddenly so off balance. That's one variation of a squat that I personally like to include in my workout. But and of course, squats as workouts challenge your entire lower body. They will mainly challenge your quadriceps or your thigh muscles, but they will also challenge your glutes, which is the butt muscles. They'll also challenge your hamstrings. They'll also challenge muscles on the side of our body that work to stabilize us while walking or while running. So they also strengthen our stabilizers. And so there are multiple benefits. Like I said, maximum calorie burn. Many muscles of your lower body partaking in making this one exercise possible, which means a lot of your muscles are getting stronger. High bone density, direct functionality, direct relationship to your daily life, and helping basically day-to-day activities become simpler. Yeah, I mean, those are the 3-4 absolute topmost things that I would highlight. And these are pretty much the same benefits with deadlifts as well. The only thing I would like to say is, I already mentioned that when we are doing deadlifts, we are primarily teaching our body how to lift heavy weights from the floor without being injured. So I would say, don't try and engage in any forms of deadlift that encourage you to not let the weight touch the floor. What is the name of that exercise? It's called dead lift. So it's to lift a dead weight. So let the weight be dead before you lift it again. Okay. So I've seen a lot of people do deadlifts where once they lift the bar up, then they do all their 8 or 10 reps without keeping the bar down. They go half the distance and then they'll come back up. Okay. And there is, no reason to get into all types of deadlifts and why people do these there is Romanian deadlift, there is strict leg deadlift. The objectives of all these exercises are very, very different, and a normal person would not know it. They wouldn't need all these exercises in their exercise plans right away. So I would say, learn how to do a classical deadlift and know that it is to lift weights off the floor. So you have to battle that inertia that the weight will have when you start lifting it. Don't make life easy for you by picking up the bar just once and doing all your reps before you keep it down.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I figured that that's why people do it, because it's so much easier. Yeah. Shruti, you are a nutritionist, you are a certified personal trainer, and I wanted to know from you, what makes a good trainer versus a bad trainer?
Yeah. You sort of touched on the word that I would start with before, in the earlier part of our discussion. And you said that a personal trainer is a teacher. Okay. So a good personal trainer thinks of himself as a teacher and not as a server. I'm providing a service, I'm at your service. That thought process makes a lot of trainers behave differently. Okay. Instead of them telling their client what is right for that client, they will try and take suggestions, advice, almost an exercise plan from their client, because they don't want to disappoint the client. Okay. So for a good trainer is one who's confident of their knowledge, and they are going to inform the client that, look, you've paid me to teach you something, and it's many times going to put you in spots that you're not particularly comfortable with, and we can talk about it. But I'm going to tell you what you're going to do, and not the other way around.
Hmm. And what motivational techniques do you use? Because I see two schools of thought. One is really embarrassing the person, or being really rude and all of that, and then the other conventional way where you're like really pushing by motivating them.
No, the only way you can convince your client is by explaining to them why you want them to do these exercises, right? The kind of discussion I'm having with you right now, I would have with my clients as well. Why are we doing deadlifts? Okay, you may be scared of a deadlift. You've probably heard of a lot of people being injured with deadlift, but why is it not going to happen with you? Why? What are we doing differently? Okay. So you are going to talk to your client about the basics of strength training, why you want them to do these exercises, what benefits these exercises are going to have in their daily life, why these exercises are going to take them closer to their goals quicker than any other options that they may be suggesting to you. I would talk to them about the 5 components of fitness that I told you about in the earlier part of our discussion. So, people are reasonable, but you have to give them reasons to believe you, and, as Voltaire has said, no problem can withstand the assault of sustained thinking. So, if your client is being difficult, or is actually, if your client is asking you questions, I would say that's a wonderful client. But even if you're having some problems with your client and you want to try and convince them in some or the other way, then just give them good reasoning, allow them to continuously think, allow them to ask you questions. Some trainers will be very uncomfortable with clients who constantly ask them questions. That's actually not a good sign. You should encourage questions, you should allow thinking and them expressing themselves. And I'm sure with dialogue, with good dialogue, a lot of people are very reasonable and they would actually come around.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing how far we have come in the whole fitness and health journey, right? I mean, growing up in the late 1990s, this was not a topic of discussion anywhere, and now it's such a big topic of discussion. People in India are getting onto the fitness industry a lot more. People are wanting to hit the gym more often. So that's fantastic. However, before we end this podcast, I wanted to touch on this topic that is also coming up a lot these days, about too much working out, right? A lot of actors put up muscle mass and whatnot for different roles, and they do it in a very short period of time, right? 2 months, 3 months. Um, and and I just wanted to know from you if is there something called as too much workout? Can there be burnout in workout, and what's the limit? I mean, you really touched upon it where you are like, 150 squats, 200 squats. Like, what is the limit, right? You can keep on pushing yourself. And how can one know what their limit is, and so that they don't push and harm themselves?
So I think it's a very interesting question. The easy part of your answer is that the limit is different for everybody. Um, and the other thing is that some of knowing your limit comes from experience. And which is why in the beginning, it's good to take guidance and go slow, just so that you start understanding your body. Okay, a lot of beginners would not know their body at all. They've not put their body in situations where they are now about to put it in. So I would say go slow in the beginning. Slowly, as you slowly, progressively start challenging your body, you will start knowing your limits. Okay, and then you can decide what is it. And a few times it may so happen also that you worked out a lot, you came back home and you felt fatigued for 2 days or so, and you said, hey, the next time this is hampering my everyday life, I'm going to go a little bit slower. And maybe with time, my cardio, both my cardiovascular endurance and my strength will come to a point where I may do the same workout, but I may not be this fatigued. So I think everybody has to experience for themselves to some extent, what is it, how much can I really push myself, and until that time try and be slightly more conservative and take guidance. At least don't go in it all by yourself. That okay, from tomorrow onwards I'm going to start running 5 kilometers and 10 kilometers, and you start suddenly doing it without any guidance, without any warm-ups, without any short runs, and even running for that matter. Even if you want to do 5 kilometer, 10 kilometer and longer run, you do sprints, you do strength training, you do walking, you do other exercises, you do a mix of workouts that actually allow you eventually to run a good 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, or whatever. Now, if somebody just completely ignores this whole process and says that, okay, tomorrow I'm just going to go and try running 5 kilometers, and then feels too fatigued or too or faints or something else happens or has injury, like I said, shin pains or something else, then it's really ignorance on the part of the person. And all these celebrities and everybody that we look at, they're all taking guidance from somebody. Okay, and there is no, it's not like in 2 months I can't lose 10 kilos. Of course I can. There are ways to do it, and I am not indicating fat burners or anything like that, or something else completely. I'm saying there are ways to push your body into excess fat burning zone. There are ways to do it. All of us on a day to day basis don't need to go that hard on ourselves, but they have that motivation. They have a shoot coming up. I had a client who was shooting a music video 2 months after he met me, and he had to lose 10 kilos. So then we have to work towards that target. So it's not necessarily unhealthy, but it's not apparent to us as well. So I wouldn't just look at somebody and be like, okay, I'm going to do what they are doing, because you don't know the entire story.
Wonderful insights, Shruti. Thank you so much for joining the podcast. I think you gave a really good breakdown of exercises, especially lifting and what people should do to get started and what are the breathing techniques. I mean, so many aspects. And I think I really look,
It's really hard to cover, get into the details of everything. It's a vast topic.
yeah,
But
yeah.
thank you for having me. It's one of my favorite topics to talk about, and not complaining. So thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm pretty sure the listeners and the viewers are gonna benefit a lot from it.
Thank you so much, Bala.